Hello, good people, this is Dyliard speaking, the CEO of the Open Wardrobe Gang, and welcome to yet another episode of our blind playthrough of Mass Effect 3. In the very last episode we did all of that, heavy lifting and arguably menial work so that in the, preceding ones we could be, jumping right into, the action. Sadly, this is not what we will be doing today, and let me explain before you click off of the video. Yes, I don't have the time to, perform a fully fledged, full-length video today, so I was thinking to myself, how about I hit you guys with like a two-parter? Where, today we'll be checking out like the Codex, Shepard's abilities, dive more in depth into the war table, and your guys' comments that you left me on those two recent pre-recorded videos, and in the very next one, or the one that will be arriving 24 hours after this one, when I actually get more time to record, to finally start the sweet Mass Effect 3 action. Yeah, so that's the plan for today. Let's jump right into it, shall we? Okay, let's start off with Shepard's character and distributing those skill points that we are kind of showered with, kind of greatly supplied with 65 points. As I was saying originally, I really wanted to, invest into combat drones, sentry turrets, and tech mastery. These seem like, the most important ones to be taking into consideration as an engineer, but you guys also have notified me that in order to pull off at least two engineer combos, you need to also invest into cryoblast, incinerate, and overload. Overload kind of seems important, very important, based off those comments, because you detonate the combo that you start off with either incinerate or cryoblast. You both detonate them with overload. So kind of also seems like an important ability. So very quickly we are dealing with, me wanting to max all of those previously three mentioned, and all of those three now also. I think we will start with combat drones, sentry turrets, and tech masteries, and we will then pivot and, go into those other three. Possibly starting that off with overload, because being able to, max the ability that detonates the other two abilities, that probably is like the most sensible thing to do. Regarding fitness, I'm not that interested in melee damage, health, or shields and barriers. It's always good to, get beefy and get tanky in any game, but certainly as a tech engineer, I'm more interested in dealing damage, or like pulling off some combos, or like CCing my enemies, not necessarily soaking damage. So let's start with the tech mastery, I guess. Be an expert technician on and off the battlefield, which boils down to faster and stronger tech powers, more dexterity, and more charisma. Yeah, the inclusion of charisma is very interesting in this tree, but I guess it is akin to Mass Effect 1 a little bit. First of all, another interesting thing I was thinking about off camera is whether, whether maxing abilities is like better, or whether distributing all of those points into different abilities is better. But similarly to other games, I don't think I will be using like my entire rotation of all of like the active abilities. We'll be mostly using the most important ones, or like the most powerful ones, or like just the ones I will be investing into, kind of a thing. Okay. So first of all, increase weight capacity bonus by 20 points and reputation bonus by 4. Okay, it's a no-brainer. Also, increasing this by 20 points, the weight capacity will allow us to actually get, you know, more cooldown reduction in a way. It's not like just passing every threshold, and I have no access right now to like the loadout screen right now, right? But every single point that I will be investing into will just make my abilities come back faster. It's not like I will have to, I don't know, invest 50 and move to a certain threshold. No, it's not like that whatsoever. Okay. Perfect, whatever. Let's get that ability. Now, power damage by 10%, so hot right now, and reputation once again. We are investing into that shit, certainly. Now, for, like, the difficult part, because I ought to choose, and choosing is not easy. It's either power damage by 15, or duration and reputation. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. What else do we have? The force and damage of squad mates' powers, or once again, me, and me only. Weight capacity and damage. And for here, combat drone and sentry turrets shields and damage, and power damage bonus and duration also okay. So I could like go really, really much into just damaging my opponents, or being more oriented towards like the squad. And my abilities a little bit. Kind of interesting. Let me actually see what upgrading the sentry turret gives you. Recharge speed, shields damage, shock attack to stun enemies, freeze enemies. Flamethrower, interesting. Nothing about, straight up regenerating. Or like getting cooldown regarding abilities. I guess that could be, all of that is attached to like your weapon loadout and carry. The weight that you are carrying. Interesting. How about the combat drone? Recharge speed, here it is. Damage, explodes, damage and shields, damage, rockets. Okay, so possibly I shouldn't be investing solely into power damage. It might make sense to get duration of all powers. But the biggest question is, yeah, the biggest question is how it will all benefit. This is all really is all kind of really difficult because, I have not played that much with my tech abilities. You guys have also notified me that if I were to, transport my Shepard from Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3 and still choose like the same class, right? I would have all of those abilities upgraded as they were in that game, right? But here I'm being presented with all of those points to distribute, and the game is kind of expecting me to, and probably is, making the game harder, and, the game is balanced around me having these abilities, and I have not met that many enemies to really test out these abilities. Okay, damage bonus or duration of all powers. And reputation. Reputation is also cool. It will also max out reputation over here, right? Yeah. We could go for like a quality build that gets just a little bit of everything, That also could be cool. I'm not necessarily vibing with this, for example. Wait, is this... Oh no, I have to upgrade these two before I move on to those two. I don't necessarily vibe with increasing the force and damage of squad mate powers. This is not something that sounds that hot. Taking into consideration sometimes you're running a tank in your squad. Sometimes you don't micromanage them that well. Sometimes they use their powers on their own in like an incorrect way. And you're left with like a useless ability. Or like an incorrect used ability. Very interesting, very interesting. It's the only one that increases the duration of all powers. Do I really care about like the shields and oh, I do care about damage on the combat drone and the sentry turret. That is something that I would care about. Okay, it's kind of fucking commit to something and not being a pussy about it. Power damage by 15. Power damage bonus by 10. I don't want this, probably. Let's kind of go for duration on this one. And considering this one, we will pivot into damage and weight capacity. And then regarding the very last one, this is like the hard one. It's either increasing and buffing the combat drone and the sentry, or just beefing up all of your... Oh wow, this actually had duration by 25% also. Ah, shit. Or just getting damage, huh? I'm gonna go out and say that if we increase the damage bonus by 25 of just everything, and the duration of everything by 25%, we'll be still reaping a little bit of those benefits, right? Maybe it's not 50% on those two abilities that are listed over here, but it will be 25 for everything that we are getting, right? Everything that we are using. How about that? I think this is just like a choice of, are you willing to just spam those two abilities on repeat? Or are you willing to use everything that you have in your arsenal? And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, I usually tend to find, I tend to find like strats that I feel comfortable with and then I use them on repeat, but I will try to get out of my comfort zone and just use everything that is at my disposal. So, let's get the fucking power mastery, let's freaking go. Just like that. Okay. I mean, I guess we can always, reassign those points if I just arrive at a fucking terrible build. Moving on to the sentry turret, yes. Recharge speed, that is very nice. Shields and damage by 30, that's awesome. Shields and damage once again, or upgrade turret with shock attack to stun enemies. Oh my goodness gracious, this is so much to take into consideration. Also, this upgrades the turret with cryo ammo for freezing enemies, armor piercing, long-range rockets, and a flamethrower. So I can only assume we can do all three at the same time, right? We could be shocking enemies, we could be freezing enemies, and then we could be flamethrowering the enemies, which is interesting, but what I'm trying to get at is, I don't necessarily feel like I wanted to stun enemies, at least based on this image right here, this icon. It's like it's happening all around the turret, and I don't necessarily think I want to be, because Shepard throws this ability. I don't want to be throwing this ability towards like the enemies. I want it to hang out around me at a distance and blast them from afar, is what I'm thinking. I don't want for it to be just, being thrown into the ranks of enemies and then getting focused and destroyed instantly. We don't want that. So I'm saying shields and damage. 40% is a fucking lot, man. Now, armor piercing, it is giving 100% damage bonus against armor. The problematic thing is we have not found like an enemy with armor so far in the game. I don't know how common armored enemies are, you know? Funnily enough, we found, shielded enemies with those Mass Effect shield generators, and not necessarily armored ones. I'm kind of leaning towards the cryo ammo. Also interesting enough, if the cryo ammo is used on enemies, maybe we can, maybe that's also a primer that I can detonate with overload. That would be cool. But how good is this, really? How good is this? Like, we are talking about one enemy, I assume, right? As in, the turret is shooting towards one enemy and it freezes them, and it's like, we continue to shoot towards, like, this enemy. It's not like an AoE or, like, it switches the target in order to crowd control somebody else. Doesn't seem to be like that. Just armor piercing sounds... Yeah, but how common is that? Yeah, but how common is that? I'm also thinking, maybe like the position of this, upgrade is like a little bit indicative of what you should be continuing with. For example, this is good for low range, this is good for low range, and this is good for low range. It makes sense, right? AoE shock attack to stun enemies and a flamethrower that probably has low range. However, maybe just straight up going damage and then going into long range rockets, that's going, just long range style. So maybe cryo ammo better synergizes with this on the left and this on the right. I have fucking convinced myself. I'm going cryo ammo, baby. Let's see it in action. And yes, this is totally what I want. Long range rockets. It deals damage across a 1.5 meter radius. Yeah, I want that. This deals less damage. No mentions of a radius. So I guess, yeah, close range flamethrower. I want to be hanging out with my turrets. That just sounds cool. And the very last one we'll be investing into is combat drone, I think, at this point, even though I want to kind of use those fucking combos, but like, once again, have to invest into 3 abilities or like 3 trees. And I kind of want to check out those combat drones and sentry turrets first because they just sound like an engineer type of a gameplay will be just provided to me. Okay, combat drone. Recharge speed, this is awesome. Damage and shields, lovely. This is a cool one that I was also, I think, running in the... Was I running it in the second game with Tali? I don't remember, but it sounded appealing. I don't know whether I was running it, but my drone would often... It would often bite the dust. It would often die, I think, because it was pulling the aggro from enemies. As opposed to, like, the sentry turret, I actually want this to be going forward, this ability. But this is giving damage and shields, that's so awesome. What else do we have? It upgrades drone short range attack in a radius. Stuns enemies, that's awesome. That I think it synergizes with this. Damage and shields once again. Oh, and long range rockets. Also has this shit. Nah, I wanted the drone to be kind of like this, you know, dummy. Flying in, taking aggro, possibly exploding. The explosion certainly doesn't make any sense whatsoever, along with, like, rockets. Upgrade the electrical pulse to jump and hit 3 additional targets, like this. The shock. Yeah, went all damage regarding the very last ability. The turret. Let's go close range regarding this one. Yes. Explosion. I'm going for it. Shock. And chain lightning. Let's freaking go, baby. So, 3 of those bars maxed out. We have 5 points to our name. Let's look at fitness, just cause. Health, melee, health and shields, recharge, melee, melee. Not interesting or appealing whatsoever. Sabotage, weapons and hack synthetics. Affected weapons overheat, so I can overheat the weapons of, like, biological based enemies, not synthetic ones. Doesn't sound like the hottest of abilities. You know, it's like, oh yeah, it's useful against, like, the Geth or something, but what if we are just running into people that are alive? I don't know, maybe this game is more, you know, suited towards this ability being viable, but I remember in the very last one and the first one, you would, you know, run into mercenaries, the Krogans, fucking Batarians. They were dying in droves, those guys. So I don't know whether sabotage is any good whatsoever. Recharge speed, impact radius. Getting an AoE out of this? Could I, like, take control over an entire battalion of the Geth? Hard duration, damage taken. Synthetics explodes when destroyed. 4-meter radius, that's awesome. I swear this ability would be really cool if it also worked on just, like, ordinary living individuals. Move faster and deal more damage. No. I'm not vibing with sabotage whatsoever. Yeah, overload electronics with this power surge, stunning your enemy. Effective against shield barriers and synthetics, not as effective against organics. As I was saying, like, it feels like a lot of characters had this ability in the very last game. And I didn't want to invest into that, but now that I hear that it's available, or rather, it is used in detonating your own combos, I might be interested. Kind of don't remember what my squad has. Don't have, like, them available here anymore. Maybe Liara has overload. Maybe Kaiden has overload. And we could be, you know, combining my tech abilities and their blasting to arrive at a satisfying combo, but I just don't know. I think I'll be holding off those points because I cannot get anything really that hot. A little bit of recharge speed and a little bit of damage. I will just have to play more and see whether at this point I could be, you know, pulling off any combos whatsoever on my own with how this tree looks right now, how this screen looks like right now, and then, you know, after a little bit of testing, just coming back over here and deciding a little bit more. What do we have over here? Recharge and damage, that's basic. 1 additional target within 8-meter radius, that's a lot. 8 meters is a lot. damage, incapacitate weaker organic enemies, recharge speed, and one additional target with 8 meters. That's cool. We could be hitting 3. Would that bring up the effectiveness of my combo? Possibly. Possibly. Not the hottest, however. Regarding the other things, this is what I wanted to invest into originally. Because just fire is cool, right? Things blowing up, that's cool. Recharge and damage, damage and radius. Okay. Adding burning damage. Recharge speed. Increases damage to frozen and chilled targets by additional 100%. Interesting. So, like the two elemental abilities together, one after the other. First of all, cryoblasting them and then incinerating. Is this what the game is putting down? An interesting type of a combo. Especially since you want to be, as far as I understand, like the combos based on like one comment I read, it's like, oh, you want to be detonating with overload a chilled enemy, not necessarily throwing incinerate at them. And armored targets. How about this? Recharge speed and duration. Okay, so I guess the duration increases that we got would affect not only how long our turrets and drones operate, but also, you know, how long sabotage takes and how long enemies would be on fire and how long they would be frozen. More duration. It doesn't sound that hot as an ability, actually. It's like usually when enemies are there out in the open and you freeze them, or when you focus them whatsoever, you probably want to be dealing with them. I don't want to keep them frozen. I want to be fucking shattering them right after using this ability. Whenever I'm seeing this cryoblast, I'm thinking about, you know, the Winter's Grasp ability from like the Dragon Age series, one of my favorite fucking abilities in that game. And this is exactly how it works. Radius. Damage to chilled and frozen targets. Movement speed of chilled targets decreased. Recharge speed. And damage to frozen and chilled targets. So funny that like the flame ability works off of cryoblast and it doesn't the other way around. Curious. But like, that would be a cool combo to have this maxed out, max radius, max possible radius, to, you know, chill a group, froze a group, and then immediately hit them with like fire for like the bonus damage. That would be cool. Okay, but as I was saying, for now, I think I will be holding off of investing more into it and just like, you know, experimenting with those abilities a little bit more. From the get-go, I wanted to get like combat drone and sentry turret and try to try to play out my mech fantasy, my mech power fantasy, and I will. For now, we'll see how it works, and later on we will see whether, you know, it's, for example, cool to be reinvesting those points and changing out, you know, what we are running. Okay, moving on to like the war assets. Let's dive deeper into it. Funny thing that I've already heard from you guys is, you know that one reporter that we punched on the Citadel? Apparently you can absolutely, you know, recruit her and gain her favors and therefore, you know, amass a little bit more total military strength because of it, because she was like an asset to possibly, recruit. So I guess we'll be missing out on that one because I couldn't, I couldn't hold my punches against her. It was only, poetic to finally punch her in the face after, her blasting us on camera for 2 games straight, right? Yeah, for example, here, Diana, the one that we recruited, provided us with 5 points. I don't think that's a lot, but it is what it is. Let's see what we have over here. First of all, Alliance Engineering Corps. The Alliance Engineering Corps cuts roads through mountains and builds bases on asteroids. Okay, I don't know how they factor in considering the total military strength, but it is what it is. While the bulk of the AEC has active wartime duties, their brightest are helping build a device of protein origin recovered on Mars. Due to the staggering amount of raw materials required, the AEC has been given unprecedented emergency funding for any Alliance resources that will not interfere with the development of troops. Yes, so this is how they factor in. They are building like the Death Star for us. The Marine Division. The old saying, every Marine is a rifleman, still holds true in the Alliance. Every Marine enlistee, from clerk to sniper, goes through a period of infantry training. Oh, really? As a result, the 103rd Marine Division is Earth's largest collection of Special Forces soldiers. Officers from notable battles such as the Skillian Blitz and the First Contact War run harsh training exercises in a variety of environments, insisting the Marines be prepared to storm any beach or any planet. The training has been useful in the Reaper War, as the 103rd can be fighting in the Arctic desert 1 week, crawling through jungles the next. Okay. Freaking putting the Turian military to shame. The Alliance First Fleet was stationed near the Charon Relay when the Reapers invaded the Sol system. By the time Hackett issued the order to retreat, its size, once the largest in the Alliance Navy, had been cut in half. Yet it's the same as the every other fleet, huh? Commanding Admiral Ines Lindholm made the painful decision to use a tenth of the fleet's remaining vessels as cover, so the remainder could escape. Her gamble paid off, as the First Fleet limped out of the relay to rally with the rest of the Alliance forces on the run. Updated. Okay, we get an update apparently to it. This fleet lost a third of its vessels protecting the Council during the Battle of the Citadel 2 years ago. Unfortunately, the Alliance did not have time to rebuild the fleet to its previous strength before the Reapers invaded. God damn. The very first fleet is just like taking a beating after a beating. The third, however, stationed by Arcturus, is headed by Nitesh Singh. When the Reapers came for the station, Singh had already pulled his command ship, the SSV Logan, back to an ideal firing position for its mass accelerator cannons. The Dreadnought's guns managed to slow down a destroyer before it could demolish the third fleet, but Singh was forced to retreat in the face of an overwhelming opposition from the Reapers. This fleet lost a third of its vessels protecting the Council during the Battle of the Citadel 2 years ago. Oh, okay, so the same stuff. It wasn't just the first, it's all of like the fleets that got fucked up, huh? The fifth became famous across the galaxy after spearheading Alliance forces at the Battle of Citadel. It was guarding Arcturus station when the Reapers attacked. After a bloody and desperate battle, Admiral Hackett gave the order to retreat, sacrificing the entirety of the Alliance Second Fleet to give the third and fifth the chance to escape. The engineers of the fifth are busy repairing its damaged vessels, grimly anticipating a return to Earth and revenge against the Reapers. God damn it, okay. So it's absolutely cut in a third, huh? Every single one of those would be providing me 100 points if it wasn't for my decision earlier on in the playthrough of like the Legendary Edition. I love how it comes into play. I love how, you know, our earlier decisions, no matter how, you know, bad, are coming into play, and in this instance, you know, biting us in the ass. Let's hope that some of like those goody two-shoes points that we, you know, stacked along the way will actually produce some fucking war assets on, you know, fully fledged war assets. Alliance News Network reporter Diana Allers has been broadcasting from the Normandy, interviewing crew members and high ranking Alliance officers to give the galaxy an insider's view of the war. There we go. Okay. Normandy. One of the most powerful assets that we have. It's like better than the First Fleet, the Normandy is, apparently. When the original SSV Normandy was destroyed, Cerberus rebuilt the ship from stolen Alliance plans. Dubbed the SR-2, the Alliance took the new Normandy apart and refitted some of its systems with new technology of its own. As a result, the SR-2 Normandy is the highest performing frigate in the entire Alliance Navy, and possibly the fastest ship in its class. The Normandy is commanded by Shepard, an Alliance officer and humanity's first Spectre. To bolster the Normandy's firepower, Commander Shepard installed a Thanix magnetic hydrodynamic cannon, that's like the big dick cannon from like the Turians, on the ship's undercarriage. Based on Reaper technology, the powerful weapon fires molten metal accelerated to a fraction of the speed of light. Before taking on the Collectors, Commander Shepard reinforced the Normandy superstructure with Solaris armor. This protective layer of carbon nanotube sheeting can withstand temperatures that would instantly vaporize more convenient armor. Okay, so apparently I do wonder how much points I added into like the Normandy because all of those, you know, upgrades that we amassed along the way. The Normandy has been upgraded with cyclonic barrier technology, allowing the ship's mass effect field projectors to fire rapidly oscillating barriers that deflect rather than directly absorb kinetic shots. So there you go. There you go. Probably we made it, you know, twice as powerful as just like the base one, right? And the very last thing that I have no idea what it might be is mineral resources. Commander Shepard uncovered significant elemental deposits while scanning planets with the Normandy SR-2. When the Alliance dry docked the Normandy, they seized all recovered elements. This material surplus has gone towards building the protein device discovered on Mars. Really? Is it all of like these resources that we mined in Mass Effect 2 like a complete fucking madman? Obviously doing it off camera because it was fucking truly menial work and truly unenjoyable stuff. So all of that, was sitting there in like the shuttle bay or whatever, and like the Alliance just picked it up. Okay, I guess it gives you more assets than goddamn First Fleet of the Alliance. I guess it was worth it. Okay, I guess that's pretty cool, and I guess that's it for now. We just have like access to the Alliance for now, but I guess if we, you know, secure or extract that one Turian politician in like the next main story mission, it would the Turians would show up over here, right? Is the only logical conclusion that I have. Pretty cool. Okay, and we finally arrived at the Codex. Let's start off with like the blinking ones, and then let's move to those that I kind of missed along the way. If my memory serves me right, I marked all of them as viewed after the very first episode, and then before recording this one, I went through like the footage from the very first one, and I like just looked into like the bottom right corner, seeing the pop-ups, and I wrote them down, and we'll be, you know, moving through them after we, you know, get over like the blinking ones. Yeah. So let's start off with Humanity and Systems Alliance.
When humanity won a position on the Council for its part in defending the Citadel, the Alliance chose Captain David Anderson for the position.
Yes.
Udina became his advisor. Anderson eventually quit over frustrations with Council politics, and the Alliance named Udina to the office.
Oh, okay. Kind of new. Okay, we are not reading the entire thing off, and just like the middle section. Already, answering some of my questions that I had about what happens between Mass Effect 2 and 3. Donald Udina is the lone human on the Citadel Council. Although he has a keen ability for furthering his own political career, Udina has long promoted humanity's interest first and foremost in the galactic arena. Then, what like the narrator read out to us, when humanity's won a position on the Council for its part in defending the Citadel, the Alliance chose Anderson for the position. Udina became his advisor. Anderson eventually quit over frustrations with Council politics, and the Alliance named Udina to the office. Okay. Pretty vague explanation. I guess it is given to us. Despite his unwavering focus on human interests, Councillor Udina is usually willing to collaborate with other species. Even his opponents concede that Udina gives fair consideration to non-human proposals, so long as humanity also benefits. I do wonder whether, like, the narrator only read out this part out because, for example, I don't know, the very first and the very last part were those that we've already had in our journal after Mass Effect 1 and 2. But this is totally new, right? He's the lone human on the Citadel Council. This is like the new development with this game. Perplexing, but it is what it is.
A political economic pact for collective colonial security, the Alliance is the central galactic institution of human society. The Alliance gained associate membership to the Citadel Council in 2165 and full membership in 2183. With Ambassador David Anderson representing humanity. Human political economic relationships vary between combative and lucrative. The Turians, who'd fought humans during the 2157 First Contact War, have become valuable trade partners, despite residual social hostility.
Nice.
Other relationships are even more complicated. The rapid rise of human political influence on the Council, achieving in decades what others waited or are still waiting centuries to acquire,
that's right,
galvanized suspicion and resentment against humanity. That negativity is vastly outweighed by the respect and trust humanity earned by saving the Council during the 2183 attack on the Citadel, at the cost of Alliance cruisers Cairo, Cape Town, Emden, Jakarta, Madrid, Seoul, Shenyang, and Warsaw, and their 2,400 crew.
Yep, we remember all of that. So how come, like, human diplomatic relations get a full read out and not Udina? I mean, I am on that Udina hate train. I was never out of that hate train, It's just, like, died down alongside with, like, the Council hate train in Mass Effect 2 because they were not present, but, like...
When humanity won a position on the Council for its part in defending...
Just like the middle part.
The Alliance chose
for no apparent reason. Whatever. It is what it is, Udina. You're just catching strays left, right, and center. What can I say?
Admiral Stephen Hackett is a decorated officer in the Systems Alliance, currently assigned to Arcturus Station on the far side of the Sol Relay. In the battle for the Citadel, Admiral Hackett commanded the 5th Fleet. Following that victory, he was promoted to head of the Alliance military. Hackett was born to a single mother in Buenos Aires in 2134. When his mother died in the pandemic of 2146, he was placed in the Advanced Training Academy for Juveniles.
Some backstory.
His talents in science and leadership quickly became evident.
For Hackett
enlisted in 2152, volunteering for high-risk missions to colonize space beyond the Sol Relay. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant on Arcturus Station in 2156. And soon proved his ability in the First Contact War. His rare ascent from enlisted man to admiral remains an Alliance legend.
Interesting. My ignorance and probably poor memory is coming out. I had no memory of him taking part of, the Battle of the Citadel. I mean, I know that at this point in Mass Effect 1 and 2, he was only like a minor character that only like fully entered the scene with like the Arrival DLC, which is the bridge between the 2 and the 3rd. I don't know whether that was mentioned previously that he took part in that battle. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, Chakwas.
Dr. Karen Chakwas is a trauma surgeon and a major in the Alliance Navy. She served on the SSV Normandy under both Captain Anderson and Commander Shepard, and was aboard the ship when it was destroyed by the Collectors.
It's the fucking OG.
She later quit the Alliance in order to rejoin Shepard on the Cerberus-built Normandy SR-2. Along with most of the second Normandy's crew, Dr. Chakwas was kidnapped by the Collectors and taken beyond the Omega-4 relay.
Fucking hilarious.
Commander Shepard eventually rescued her. After the Alliance impounded the Normandy SR-2, an inquiry found that Dr. Chakwas had no significant role in or provable knowledge of Cerberus's criminal activities. She has since rejoined the Alliance.
Like, how good is Chakwas's like plot armor in like the timeline that we are running? Survived Mass Effect 1, avoided like the crash of Mass Effect, or like the destruction of Normandy in at the beginning of Mass Effect 2. Then she's abducted by the Collectors, but Shepard once again saves her. That's amazing. What terrible fate can meet Chakwas in this game that will be able to, you know, alleviate? I hope she makes it through like the trilogy, right? Okay, what do we have in organizations?
In recent years,
okay,
the
perfect.
pro-human syndicate known as Cerberus has seen its influence grow galaxy-wide. The largely untraceable organization now includes private intelligence agencies, biotics laboratories, research facilities, and the lucrative corporations that provide a front for it all. Cerberus's charismatic leader, known only as the Elusive Man,
the man,
the organization's philosophy and interests.
The myth.
The level of secrecy he maintains puts professional intelligence agencies to shame.
The legend.
As Cerberus grows, so too does public distrust of the organization. Some commentators have remarked that Cerberus is not so much pro-human as it is anti-alien. Others question the blind loyalty of its employees.
I mean, I don't know. Cerberus must be doing some fucking overtime in like the PR department because, you know, I was holding that fucking ship together in Mass Effect 2. Just like doing somersaults and jumping through hoops in order to not be seen as a fucking criminal. And then, you know, whatever happened at the beginning of Mass Effect 3 happened. I don't know how they are not, you know, public enemy number 1 at this point.
The Elusive Man is a human loyalist focused on advancing the interests of his species, whatever the cost to non-humans and reportedly humans. The Citadel Council regards him as a fanatic who poses a serious threat to galactic security. The reclusive tycoon is the head of Cerberus, an organization that furthers his pro-human agenda throughout the galaxy. His views have led him into questionable alliances. Recent rumors go so far as to suggest that the Elusive Man may even have allied with the Reapers.
See, in this, I probably don't believe. Elusive Man has like too much big of a boner of being like a control freak. And he would want to possess the Reapers, you know, himself. He would not be interested in serving whatsoever. He has his, you know, eyes on the ball, on the goal. This guy is not fucking bowing his... he's not bowing to the Reapers whatsoever. In this, I don't believe.
The Reaper called Harbinger is believed to be the old Reaper indoctrination is an insidious means of corrupting organic minds.
When did we get this one?
Through physical and psychological conditioning using electromagnetic fields, infrasonic and ultrasonic noise, and other subliminal methods. The Reaper's resulting control over the limbic system leaves the victim highly susceptible to its suggestions. Organics undergoing indoctrination may complain of headaches and buzzing or ringing in their ears. As time passes, they have feelings of being watched and hallucinations
Yep.
of ghostly presences.
That's Mass Effect 2.
Ultimately, the Reaper gains the ability to use the victim's body to amplify its signals, manifesting as alien voices in the mind. Indoctrination can create perfect deep cover agents. A Reaper's suggestions can manipulate victims into betraying friends, trusting enemies, or viewing the Reaper itself with superstitious awe.
Oh, yes,
Should
yes.
a Reaper subvert a well-placed political or military leader, the resulting chaos can bring down nations.
True.
Long-term physical effects of the manipulation are unsustainable. Higher mental functioning decays, ultimately leaving the victim a gibbering animal. Rapid indoctrination is possible, but causes this decay in days or weeks. Slow, patient indoctrination allows the thrall to last for months or years.
I swear we've freaking written, or we've read, or listened to this particular one previously. I don't remember this section. Whatsoever. This particular one, I could have sworn I heard this particular one and like the gibbering animal also. But like, yeah, interesting. Should this be like putting in my mind the idea that someone on the council, on the Alliance's council, or even someone that I consider to be an ally, they could be like a mole, a traitor in disguise, or even like a perfect traitor, right? Interesting.
The Citadel races have classified the known variants
Okay,
of Reapers
let's fucking
into
go.
4 types. Capital ships are sovereign-class Reapers 2 kilometers in length.
Okay.
They typically target the dreadnoughts, defense installations, and industrial cities of organic civilizations. Experts believe the Reapers harvest a single species of organics during each cycle of extinction to create these massive ships. Some capital ships are capable of launching small drones equivalent to fighters.
Okay.
Destroyers are 160 meters long and, in astounding numbers, make up the bulk of the Reaper fleet. They engage cruisers and other smaller ships, as well as communications posts and enemy command centers. Research suggests destroyers are created from those species that are not harvested to make capital ships.
Okay.
Troop transports carry husks to unconquered planets and bring victims of the harvest to Reaper processing centers. They vary in length from 200 meters to 1 kilometer. But unlike
So much
capital
info.
ships and destroyers, do not appear to be self-aware.
I'm dizzy.
Instead, other Reapers operate troop transports remotely. Processors, also called slaughter ships, are mobile centers for mass DNA harvesting. Like troop transports, processors appear to be remotely operated by sapient Reapers.
What the fuck? Where did the Alliance get so much of this info, and why is it squeezed over here? This sounds so important. Capital ships are sovereign-class Reapers. Target the dreadnoughts. And they are from that single species that is harvested during the extinction. Okay, is this what I'm looking at? Possibly. Destroyers. And okay, which ones are these? They are smaller, certainly. They are certainly smaller, and they are from, like, the amalgamation of all of, like, the other species? Like, how? Research suggests destroyers are created from those species that are not harvested to make capital ships. But, like, other species were not abducted in Mass Effect 2, right? It was the humans who were abducted, and not necessarily other species. Maybe it's like it would start off with the humans in Mass Effect 2, and if you don't stop like the invasion, they would be, you know, abducting the other ones. But this at the same time, it was invasion time in Mass Effect 2 already, right? With the arrival. So interesting. Too bad we are not provided with images regarding all of those classes, just one generic one. These carry husks, not that interesting. and DNA harvesting ships. I don't know whether we've seen all of those types during like the opening. Which one? 2 kilometers in length. It must have been the one that fucked up like the Alliance command, right? The one that comes from like the sky like fucking Jesus himself, right? That must have been a capital ship. It was like towering over skyscrapers in Vancouver, right? It must have been. And we've seen like several of those in that one wide shot when we are leaving the planet. 160 meters long. Yeah, I'm not familiar. Oh, these ones? Is it the one that sent out like the space laser? So like that little kid got absolutely game ended, sent to the afterlife? I believe so. It was not as big as those skyscrapers. It was more like, I don't know, round. Is how I can describe it. Had a space laser and evil red eye in the middle. So that might have been a destroyer, huh? Okay, and these ones, I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Wow, so much info. Would have liked to see more of that, obviously, in action. Okay, and that's it considering, you know, the ones that we have known. How about the secondary category? What do we have here? Citadel Council is an executive committee composed of representatives from the Asari Republic, the Turian hierarchy, and the Solarian Union. Though they have no official power over the independent governments of other species, the Council's decisions carry great weight throughout the galaxy. No single Council race is strong enough to defy the other two, and all have a vested interest in compromise and cooperation. Each of the Council's species has general characteristics associated with the various aspects of governing the galaxy. The Asari are typically seen as diplomats and mediators, the Solarians gather intelligence and information, the Turians provide the bulk of the military and peacekeeping forces. I could have sworn I fucking read that already. Any species granted an embassy on the Citadel is considered an associate member, bound by the Accords of the Citadel Conventions. Associate members may bring issues to the attention of the Council, though they have no input on the decision. The Human Systems Alliance became an associate member on the 2165. Probably the only new piece of trivia that we get. Citadel space is an unofficial term referring to any region or space controlled by a species that acknowledges the authority of the Citadel Council. At first glance, it appears this territory encompasses most of the galaxy. In reality, however, less than 1% of the stars have been explored. I also remember this cool piece of trivia. Even Mass Effect FTL drives is slow relative to the volume of the galaxy. Empty space and systems without suitable drive discharge sites are barriers to exploration. Only the mass relays allow ships to jump hundreds of light years in an instant, the key to expanding across an otherwise impassable galaxy. I also remember reading that one, and I also kind of love this, how they structured like the universe in it. As I was saying, it's a little bit like the Wild West and like moving the frontier east, I guess. Is it east? No, I think I think that's west. Going left is west. Yes, that's west. So yeah, moving like the frontier west. It's such a cool concept that we have access to like the galaxy, but we cannot have everything figured out, so we rely on this Prothean, you know, Mass Effect relay system, which just gets us to a different part of the galaxy, but, you know, not everything is figured out, is what I'm trying to get at. Whenever a new relay is activated, the destination system is rapidly developed. From the hub, FTL drive is used to expand to nearby star clusters. The result is a number of densely developed clusters thinly spread across the vast expanse of space connected by the mass relay network that I was talking about right now. News network. Okay, the one that Diana is running. Founded during the early decades of human space expansion, the Alliance News Network was originally a low-profile news organization known mostly for a series of exposés on the First Contact War, with a focus on galaxy-wide reporting. The ANN opened bureaus on planets across known space, winning a few awards for excellence and earning a multi-species audience. There we go. Short and sweet. Planets and locations. Sanctum. Sanctum is known for the freezing ice storms which sweep across its poles and temperate zones, with only a thin strip of habitable land along the equator. Because of those harsh living conditions, Sanctum attracts only the most gruff and hardy, from miners to mercenaries to companymen. Mining, referred to as ice cracking anywhere but the equator, is the backbone of Sanctum's economy. The planet is rich in platinum and palladium deposits, as well as boron, which is locally used in semiconductor doping. What is this about, Sanctum? Oh, this is connected to this mission. There's a lab located on Sanctum. I was like, I'm not familiar with, you know, that planet, ever visiting it, or it being like that mentioned. Sanctum's corporate factions have learned that Cerberus is involved in the planet's finances. System Alliance intelligence agents embedded within the corporate strata are quietly urging the companies to confront Cerberus directly, but so far, financial bickering has kept Sanctum's major stakeholders from acting against the elusive man. There we go, a little bit of that setup regarding our destination. It makes me hope that it's not just like a one and done situation. No, we'll actually get to, you know, land on that planet and do more of things on that planet, and, you know, maybe visit it a couple of times. And the Reapers, baby. Reaper capabilities. The Reapers are technologically superior to the organic species of the galaxy, but the degree of that superiority is a matter of debate in the intelligence community. The Reapers' thrusters and FTL drives appear to propel them at more than twice the speed of Citadel ships. Okay. They're not running away from these motherfuckers, is all I'm getting. Estimates of their location in dark space suggest they can travel nearly 30 light years in a 24-hour period. Reaper power sources seem to violate known physical laws. Reapers usually destroy fuel infrastructure rather than attempt to capture it intact, indicating that Reapers do not require organic species energy supplies. Interesting. Consequently, the Reapers attack without regard for maintaining supply lines behind them, except to move husks from one planet to another. Unlike Citadel ships, Reapers do not appear to discharge static buildup from their drive cores, although they sometimes appear wreathed in static discharge when they land on planets. Interesting. This sounds like, you know, this sounds dire. I love how this adds into how dire this war is. It's just like extermination. It's nothing like conventional war when you like move troops and kind of move the front forward and you kind of capture important cities or places because, you know, it's like a an economical hub, right? Or there are, for example, things that you can benefit from regarding the area when you take it under your control. No, these are some scorched earth motherfuckers, the Reapers. They just destroy. They just wipe out. Double, like, the intensity for the war over here. The main gun on a Reaper capital ship dwarfs that of the Alliance's Everest-class dreadnoughts. No dreadnought has yet survived a direct hit from the weapon. Estimates put its destructive power anywhere from 132 to 454 kilotons of TNT. Even if the target is hardened, as in the case of surface-based missile silo, the gun can instead bury the targets beneath molten metal. Precise targeting computers and correctors also give Reaper weapons a longer effective range than organic dreadnought or cruisers. And this is also what I've been getting at and wondering, like, have we scored like a kill on a Reaper capital ship? Is all I'm asking. Have we managed to destroy a single Reaper? And another one, every single Reaper is like an alive creature, kind of, right? They are even given names and they talk to Shepard and some shit. But these have been capital ships, I think. Do these smaller ones, the one that, you know, destroyed that human transport with like the little kid on it, created from apparently these less important species, less important alien species, do they have like a character of their own? Are they also sentient or not? So many questions, man. So many questions. The kinetic barriers on a Reaper capital ship can shrug off the firepower of a small fleet. Weapons specifically designed to overcome shields such as the Javelin, Guardian lasers, or the Thanix series can bypass the barriers to some degree. The difficulty is getting close enough to use them. The surface-mounted weaponry on Reaper ships, similar in principle to Guardian, prevents an effective defense against organic species fighters. All in all, it seems like we are very deep in like the yikes territory, and it's not looking good. It looks like we are getting absolutely cooked in the war. Okay, coming back to you guys, I have over here a list of entries that we got in the very first episode. For example, let me see. Nothing over here. The Protheans, right.
The Protheans were the only spacefaring species in the galaxy. They vanished in a swift galactic extinction. Only the legacy of their empire remains. They are believed to have built the mass relays and the Citadel, which have allowed numerous species to explore and expand throughout the galaxy. Prothean ruins are found on worlds across the galaxy.
Okay.
While surprisingly intact for their age, functioning examples of Prothean paleotechnology are rare. Time and generations of looters have picked their dead cities and derelict stations clean.
Makes sense.
Some believe the Protheans meddled in the evolution of younger races.
Oh, they certainly did.
The Hanar homeworld of Kage, for example, shows clear evidence of former Prothean occupation. The presence of a former Prothean observation post on Mars has caused a rebirth of interventionary evolutionists among humans. These individuals believe the god myths of ancient civilizations are misremembered encounters with aliens.
Possibly. Interesting. Nothing about like the super weapon, however, but this is one of them that popped up in the very first episode. Okay, the very next two ones are for the Citadel and the Spectres. Here they are.
The Citadel is an ancient deep space station presumably constructed by the Protheans. Since the Prothean extinction, numerous species have come to call the Citadel home. It serves as the political, cultural, and financial capital of the galactic community. To represent their interests, most species maintain embassies on the Presidium, the Citadel's inner ring.
We know this.
The Citadel Tower in the center of the Presidium holds the Citadel Council chambers. Council affairs often have far-reaching effects on the rest of the galactic community. 5 arms, known as the wards,
also known info.
Their inner surfaces have been built into cities, populated by millions of inhabitants from across the galaxy. The Citadel is virtually indestructible. If attacked, the station can close its arms to form a solid, impregnable shell. For as long as the station has existed, an enigmatic race called the Keepers has maintained it.
Okay, I'm pretty sure we are familiar with most of that. I swear it popped up in the very first, episode, but I swear no new info is over here. I would think, oh, there will be something about, the battle for Citadel or something. Nope.
Spectres are agents from
Oh,
the
that's
Office
cool.
of Special Tactics and Reconnaissance and answer only to the Citadel Council. They are elite military operatives, granted the authority to deal with threats to peace and stability in whatever way they deem necessary. They operate independently or in groups of 2 or 3. Some are empathetic peacekeepers resolving disputes through diplomacy. Others are cold-blooded assassins, ruthlessly dispatching problem individuals.
Yup.
All get the job done one way or another.
We've seen most of them from, like, that latter category.
The Spectres were founded after the Solarians joined the Council. For many years, they operated in secrecy as backroom problem solvers. Only after the Krogan rebellions did their activities become publicized. Assignment of a Spectre is less contentious than a military deployment, but makes it clear that the Council is concerned about a situation.
That is so interesting regarding the Spectres. I mean, in this particular game, our status of the Spectre was reinstated. But truly, I swear all of, like, the Spectres that we meet are, assholes. Oh no, wait. There's that Nihilus guy. He wasn't an antagonist. I found one, guys. I mean, outside of that, it's Saren and this particular individual that we see over here in the picture, and both of them turn to be bad guys. But Nihilus was kind of on our side, I don't necessarily remember him being, like, a nice guy, but at least he wasn't, like, outright evil. We were given also one about Earth, I believe.
When humanity, Earth, the home world and capital of humanity,
oh,
was
shit.
enjoying a new golden age before the Reapers attacked. Disease,
London being fucked up
were on the decline, thanks to technological advances and a wealth of resources from the colonies. Earth was an inspiration even to alien cultures, resulting in influence out of proportion with humanity's brief time on the galactic stage. The Reaper attack has put an end to any semblance of this former life. The great cities of Earth are storehouses of human DNA for the Reapers to harvest.
Really?
Reaper
Makes sense.
Capable of megaton-scale firepower, annihilated industrial centers in seconds.
Seconds?
The militaries of Earth's disparate nation-states have retained only partial communication with the system's alliance fleets, leaving the planet's resistance efforts uncoordinated and vulnerable. The loss of the Combui network has cut off Earth's economy from the rest of the galaxy, sending shockwaves across galactic markets and a significant obstacle to receiving aid.
Really interested in, Earth's well-doing regarding Mass Effect 3. I thought that, I thought Anderson remaining on Earth, after watching what unfolds in front of our eyes in the intro, I thought that was absolute suicide. But the way how they are, vague about this whole Earth situation, and there is, like, resistance, and they are kind of holding, and then, the situation is tough, I feel like we'll be able to kind of, do something about it. As in, we will be visiting Earth, I believe, again in this particular game, and it won't be just to, look at the distraction, but there will be some objective, in my opinion, to be gained or to be completed over there. For the known associates, I believe we do have to check out Captain Anderson, we do have to check out Liara, and we do have to check out Kaiden.
Admiral David Edward Anderson is
Here
a
it is,
career
the
military
GOAT.
officer in the Systems Alliance Navy. Born in London in
London.
1937, he later moved to Arcturus Station and became the first graduate of the Alliance's now renowned N7 Marine program. Anderson is one of the Alliance's most decorated Special Forces operatives, and served with honor during the First Contact War.
We know.
He was the original captain of the SSV Normandy before relinquishing command to his XO, Commander Shepard.
Yep.
After the Alliance victory in the Battle of the Citadel, Anderson briefly served as the Citadel's first human counselor. He soon became embroiled in a Cerberus plot to abduct his friend Kaylee Sanders, however, and learned that he was unable to live a life without action. He stepped down as counselor and returned to the military to prepare for the Reaper invasion. The Alliance Parliament named Donald Udina as his successor.
Wait a hot minute. What? He soon became embroiled in a Cerberus plot to abduct his friend Kaylee Sanders? However, and learned that he was unable to live a life without action. What the fuck? What? What are we talking about over here? Is this like some third party? Something along the lines of like a comic book? Or like a movie? Or like a book dedicated to these events? I had no idea that this happened. I don't remember seeing Captain Anderson in action before, you know, the intro to Mass Effect 3, unless I'm just drawing ridiculously bad blanks. I'm just misremembering as fuck. No, it was punching fucking Udina in the face, then a lot of nothing, hanging out in the Presidium, you know, leaning over the railing and just basking in of the Presidium glory, and after that it was, you know, stepping down between Game 2 and Game 3. Cerberus plot to abduct his friend Kaylee Sanders. Well, the more you know.
Dr. Liara Tassoni is an Asari information broker with a background in scientific research on Prothean technology.
That's right.
Born on Thessia in 2077, she is the only child of the late matriarch Benezia. Although mother and daughter became estranged in the years before Benezia was indoctrinated by the Reaper known as Sovereign. Tassoni is also a highly trained biotic who served under Commander Shepard aboard the SSV Normandy before the ship was destroyed in a collector attack. Before she became involved in galactic affairs, Dr. Tassoni spent 50 years researching the Protheans' technology and the mystery of their extinction.
We do know this.
She now divides her time between uncovering Prothean ruins and consulting with noteworthy representatives of the various Citadel races.
So just like a little bit of new info over here, I was thinking there would be more about this time we spent without Liara on like the squad, and about the time between the games, but not really. God, I was freaking cracking up during this part. You guys gave me so much shit for me pronouncing Kaiden as Kaiden, and I've just heard him pronounce like Benezia. This is what I was calling her, as Benezia or something like that. It's just it's just sometimes, you know, these pronunciations, they come off the wrong way from my mouth.
Major Kaiden Alenko is a human biotic and an officer in the
Kaiden Alliance. It's Kaiden.
He served as staff lieutenant under Commander Shepard on the SSV Normandy during the Battle of the Citadel, and now heads the Special Operations Biotics Division at the Alliance Warfare Center.
Okay.
An Alliance tribunal recently called on Alenko to testify about his experience with the Reapers.
Of course.
Alenko suffers from severe headaches because of the early model L2 biotic implants that he was given as a child. The L2 implants have since been discontinued due to the risk of crippling neurological damage.
Okay, I guess it's just like a little bit of info. I mean, I remember reading a comment saying that there was like this wave of newcomers regarding the series when like the very last game in the trilogy came out, and like EA and BioWare, they were pushing for new people to be arriving. So I guess it makes total sense for someone who is just familiar with Mass Effect 3 to, you know, get this information about people from mostly Mass Effect 1, right? Despite this not providing us, the veterans, at this point with that much new info.
Cerberus built the Normandy SR2 as a second-generation version
of the this one is the new one.
Originally created to covertly insert Alliance Marines into hostile environments,
the space dumpster.
The UT-47 shuttle has since been sold to allies, recovered by enemies, and had its specifications stolen by spies.
Really?
In one form or another, this durable transport is now used in all corners of the galaxy. A-model Kodiaks feature a front-mounted mass accelerator cannon that can be used in an anti-vehicular role. Since the shuttle lacks proper gun ports, soldiers often open the side hatch to fire on enemies.
Makes sense.
This is discouraged in Alliance manuals since it exposes the interior to return fire. Flying the 47A during atmospheric combat requires considerable skill. The pilot must reduce the vehicle's mass for speed and handling, while maintaining enough mass to resist recoil, incoming fire, and inclement weather. More than one pilot has overstressed the Kodiak's field generator and ended up on the battlefield instead of above it.
This is so hilarious. So much glaze for this just not intimidating enough looking vehicle. Really, the least impressive looking vehicle in the entirety of the Mass Effect universe, I think, at least at this point.
Although melee combat applications for the Omni tool are almost as old as the device itself,
that's us. That's us.
The feature was largely unused prior to the Reaper invasion. The need to take on multiple husks in close quarters forced the Alliance to develop ways to enhance the tool's offensive capability. The most common melee design is the omni-blade.
What?
A disposable silicon carbide weapon flash-forged by the tool's mini-fabricator. The transparent, nearly diamond-hard blade is created and suspended in a Mass Effect field safely away from the user's skin.
It's pretty freaking cool.
Warning lights illuminate the field so the searing hot blade only burns what it is intended to: the opponent.
That's pretty freaking
cool.
cool.
Adept soldiers frequently modify their Omni tools to maximize stopping power through electrical, kinetic, or thermal energy. Some troops integrate the weapon with their kinetic barriers, transforming the Omni tool into a wrist-mounted bludgeon. Others fabricate flammable gases, held in place by a Mass Effect field and ignited upon impact. All prove deadly surprises for opponents who expect a disarmed Alliance warrior.
That's pretty freaking cool. I don't know when we got this particular entry. Could it be connected with so much, you know, being given to us, considering melee damage? Could we later on change our Omni tool to, you know, produce a blade or some other cool thing out of it, and being just better at melee combat in the process? That would be freaking cool. But based on what I've experienced so far, we don't have the option to do so. I'll be on the lookout then. We were also given like 3 entries regarding the Codex about the Cerberus individuals that we were fighting at length in like the previous episodes. We have like the Centurions over here, frontline tacticians, meant to enact the elusive man's strategic goals, although it is clear that they have leeway to adapt as an encounter develops. The unuseful intelligence that the Alliance has gathered on Centurions relates to their armament. Each Centurion carries an M96 Mattock heavy rifle modified to launch smoke grenades, leaving enemies vulnerable to crossfire. Yeah, the goddamn enemies are now using smoke grenades in droves. That's just like, you know, makes it hard to spot enemies and shoot at them. I believe you can't even, you know, target them through like the smoke. It really forces you to reposition, which, you know, comes with just risks. Guardians, the Cerberus equivalent of human tanks, are slow-moving soldiers who carry enormous polycrystalline composite shields. The weight of the shields requires an armored suit equipped with hydraulic assists and a dedicated power supply. Combining this exceptional protection with a suite of enviro mapping systems, Guardians focus on flanking opponents to flush them from cover. A Guardian's slow but relentless approach is intended to demoralize enemies as well as draw their fire. But rip away their shields and Guardians become a little more than cannon fodder. You guys have notified me that, you know, you can get them also through their visor, right? A good shot from the sniper rifle, an accurate shot can you know, provide you with a headshot, because there's like apparently an opening. I've never seen that, but I will be on the lookout to test it out. Troopers are the backbone of Cerberus forces. These candidates who make it through the grueling basic training are submitted to an intensive psychological program that renders them fearless, disciplined, and unrelenting. Outfitted with custom-designed armor and rifles, these soldiers function with determined precision and practiced teamwork. The first to rush into a fight, assault troopers often work in tandem with more powerful units. They make strategic use of the scenario, keeping their opponents occupied until it is too late to react to the combined Cerberus force bearing down on them. My question is, at this goddamn point in the story, who the fuck is enlisting into Cerberus? The only drawing force that was driving their operations was Shepard's PR, who at this point is joining Cerberus to get huskified and just sent into like the meat grinder. What insane individual might that be? At this point, I totally believe that, you know, Miranda and Jacob, they have nothing to do with Cerberus whatsoever. I mean, you know, Miranda obviously, and I guess Jacob obviously too, because we collectively told the elusive man to fuck himself at the end of the very last game, but, you know, who is left in this organization is all I'm asking. We also have two new ones regarding like the enemies that we've met along the way on the side of the Reapers. These are the cannibals and like the husks.
The Reaper called Harbinger is cannibals are frontline Reaper units created from corrupted Batarians.
Really?
The nickname refers to their propensity to devour the bodies of fallen comrades.
I mean, makes sense, look at their faces.
A chemical process through which the cannibals spontaneously heal themselves and grow new chitinous armor.
Oh my god.
The transformation also appears to give cannibals a greater awareness of their surroundings, leading to more strategic behavior and careful use of battlefield cover.
Okay, once again, a lot to take in. Corrupted Batarians makes sense. Two pairs of eyes. Now that I'm looking at them, the similarity is striking. And I kind of know that, you know, the Reapers originally were meant to arrive in Batarian space, in like the arrival, so it makes sense. But when the hell did you guys capture Batarians and like created these monstrosities out of them? That's crazy. As I was saying, I think originally, I was saying that on camera, I thought these were Scions, just redesigned during the very first episode, but it very quickly came out to not be the case.
Husks are the aggressive, mindless foot soldiers of the Reaper armies. They are created by impaling either living or dead humans on mechanical spikes that rapidly extract water and trace minerals and replace them with cybernetics.
Freaky.
These cybernetics reanimate the lifeless flesh and tissue, transforming the bodies into horrifying killing machines. The Reapers use large groups of husks to overwhelm the enemy. The husks' inability to feel pain, as well as their tendency to attack in groups, makes them particularly deadly adversaries.
Yep, it's all accurate. All accurate. Nothing new to add. I remember being really confused about this in Mass Effect 2 because I kind of associated husks more with like the Geth and not like the Reapers, but it wasn't the case whatsoever. Okay, and we are swiftly moving to the very last topic of this video, responding kind of on camera to your guys' comment. The very first one, which I already, you know, touched on, was the one explaining to me engineer combos and there being apparently 3 ones. The comment did not go too much in depth regarding the third option, but yeah, as I was informed, you use them by, you know, freezing or putting enemies on fire and then detonating it with overload, which I will try to, you know, test out in the very last episode. But it's really hard sometimes to use your kind of entire arsenal in these games. As I was saying, I tend to get comfortable with something, and it's really hard to get me out of my comfort zone. And at the same time, the game provides you with so many abilities that you're sometimes just like not able to use them all. Right? It's like there's a group of enemies and you want to do some shooting, and you want to do some combat drone, and you want to do some sentry, and so on and so forth, and you suddenly find yourself in a situation where there are no enemies to kill. So yeah, I'll try to combo in the very next episode, at least attempt it. And that very last way of having tech combos, I don't know what it is just yet, but I hope I'll find out. The very next one is related to like the From the Ashes DLC. Apparently, contrary to Arrival from Mass Effect 2, I ought to be doing it as fast as possible. If my eyes serve me right... Oh, mission summary. It is not currently in my mission summary in my journal, but if it enters it, I will try to do it as fast as possible. I also got a comment about, reputation, and I don't necessarily know exactly how that mechanic works in its entirety, just yet, but from what I read, it's like actually it will kind of change how Shepard is responding to characters, and it will actually affect those general responses. No longer we are getting depending on where you're aligned. Apparently this will kind of change how just just how Shepard presents himself, I guess, being like kind of an asshole or being kind of a nice guy in those just conversations. You guys have also gave me a little bit of shit for how I handled like the tutorial regarding like the cover system. And I absolutely agree that performance with that turret shooting at us at all times was not good whatsoever. In my defense, my eyes were hyper focused on like the gun on the top of the screen right there on the ceiling, so I was not even reading like the prompts there that appeared at the bottom of the screen, but ever since I have. And I think I will just perform better with covers later on in the playthrough. An interesting one is how the conversations play out in those different hubs. For example, that one between like the two Asari in the clinic, and it continues on the next time you visit the place. So there is an incentive for me to be revisiting and rerunning through these areas and just listening to those conversations and how they eventually pan out. Very interesting. Just gives you another reason to revisit the Citadel and other hubs, whatever they may be in this particular game. Another one I got also is apparently there are timers in this game regarding side content, and you apparently want to be focusing on those side missions ASAP, because there is a possibility they will, due to how the game plays out, that they will disappear later on, or probably they won't be available to do or deliver, right? So yes, maybe in the very next one we will start off with like the side mission in order to see how that particular mechanic works. The very next one also connected with like the missions, the quests. Apparently the ones that we have is the Priority Eden Prime. It's also DLC. No way of telling in this particular screen. It looks exactly like everything else. A hint might be the fact that I got, two main story missions, and, logic would deem that we probably should start off the game with a singular one, but, it might be constructed in a completely different way. Anyway, I digress. The Priority Eden Prime is apparently a DLC, and it's also one that you want to do fairly quickly, according to you guys, so yeah, maybe in the very next episode we will be revisiting old and trusty Eden Prime that is just getting hit up and hit after every game. And a very important thing that I completely missed, because look at how this is freaking hidden in the game. Apparently every single one of those appearances that I cycled in the very last episode or whenever, this is no longer cosmetic. info, this particular one, armor bonus, only shows up after I click on info, by the way, gives power damage plus 20%. Now if I cycle the appearance, it's now power recharge speed plus 25%. Cycle it again, it's also power recharge speed, okay. Cycle it again, now we are back to power damage. So, apparently, like, these appearances are connected with what you will be running regarding squad bonuses. Oh, power damage also. About this one, it's also power damage. Really interesting. It makes me think that maybe, just maybe, hopefully we'll be able to unlock more of them in the game, but maybe it's also unlikely because already multiple ones have like the same effect, so I guess there is a bit of this you know, transmog of an aspect to it, as in you are kind of looking at multiple ones that do the same thing, but you are just checking out or like choosing a cool one. Very interesting. What do we want to even run on Liara? It's power recharge speed or power damage. I don't like this, whatever she has on her at the current time. Too bad the game doesn't let me zoom in, and I don't think these show up on the characters if I were to walk to them right now. So I'm not the biggest fan of like the white one. This one is fucking going hard, I have to say. But I don't think I want power recharge speed. Or do I? Is it damage or is it recharge speed? Okay, the coolest ones are these two, so we are running these two. Fuck it. Let's start with this one. And let's see how Liara looks in any mission going forward. Okay, what is your base one, James? Shields, plus 25%. Weapon damage, and shields. Okay, so the cyborg look gives him shields, huh? As I was already seeing like a couple of times. What about this one, weapon damage? As I was saying a couple of times already throughout like this entire Mass Effect Legendary Edition playthrough, like, tanking damage, it's not the way to go, James. I don't want to be investing plus 25% into your shields, which means, like, virtually fucking nothing, when I can be just, like, investing into pure damage on this guy. Let's go with this insanity-looking one. Or is it too much? This one is like the coolest that I wanted to check out, probably. It has shields. It also has shields. This is the weapon damage that is kind of... Okay, let's go with like the Insano one. Now he's looking like a fucking Terminator. And the very last comment that I will be addressing today, because I'm absolutely running out of time and running out of the building in a minute, is I know there is an animated movie for Mass Effect that I should have probably watched between Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 about, you know, the backstory of James and what we heard in the very last episode. I'm absolutely interested and I will be checking it out, but I just did not have time up until this point. However, when I do check it out, I will absolutely give you guys my opinion about the thing. Apparently it's done in an anime style. So I can't wait how, the anime style meshes with like the Mass Effect universe. Yeah, and that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys very much for watching. Be on the lookout in around 24 hours for a legit, fully fledged, action-packed episode. Like, comment, and subscribe, but remember to do it only if you guys feel like it. It's always greatly appreciated though when you guys do, because it helps the channel a great deal. And considering the channel, also check it out, there may be some other blind playthroughs in there that may pique your interest. For the very last time, thank you guys for watching, see you in the very next one, and bye bye, stay safe out there, you beautiful people. Bye bye!